Brooks Auto, outskirts of Copper Hill, Georgia, Tuesday, 4:18 p.m. The last rays of southern sun dipped low, setting the rusted sign of Brooks Auto aglow like a badge of survival. The garage sat crooked on red clay ground, framed by pecan trees and history. Inside, Tyler Brooks lay beneath a 1984 pickup truck, oil slick staining his denim shirt, one boot sticking out the side. "Need that 12 mil," he called out, voice calm. But no one answered. Of course not. He worked alone. Always had. A town with a long memory. In Copper Hill, folks didn't forget, not even the wrong stories. Tyler wasn't always the mechanic. Once he was the football star, the golden kid with the scholarship in hand. Until the fight. Until the arrest. He hadn't thrown the first punch. But the other guy was white, and the judge, the mayor's cousin. So Tyler did 18 months for aggravated assault and came back to find his name poisoned and his future erased. Now he fixed carburetors instead of careers. And he didn't speak unless spoken to. Trouble in khakis. A luxury SUV pulled up, kicking dust. Out stepped Chase Langston, son of the mayor, khakis so crisp they looked ironed by angels. With him were two city boys in blazers, laughing like the world belonged to them. "Yo, Tyler," he yelled, "this place still standin'? Ain't the roof supposed to fall in by now?" Tyler slid out, wiping his hands with an old rag. "What do you need?" "Oh, just stopping by to admire this classic piece of poverty." The other two snickered. "Tell me," Chase smirked, "still pretending you're a businessman, huh?" Tyler didn't rise to the bait, didn't flinch. "Got work to do." He turned back toward the garage. Chase followed. "Heard Judge Harrison moved into the old Beechwood estate. Rumor says he's got a classic '69 Shelby. Needs a mechanic." The tall one in the blazer laughed. "What's he gonna do? Let you touch a $500,000 car with your record?" Tyler said nothing. Just watched them get back in their SUV, still laughing. But behind his eyes, something sparked. Opportunity rolls in. The next morning, a different car pulled in. Not loud, not flashy, just clean, black, federal plates. From the driver's side stepped a man in his 60s, bald with steel-gray eyes and posture like a soldier. Judge Leonard Harrison, recently retired, known for putting away cartel bosses and corporate kings. He looked at Tyler's garage, then at Tyler. "Mr. Brooks?" "Yes, sir." The judge nodded. "I hear you don't talk much." "Not unless there's something worth saying." The judge smiled. "Just barely." "Good. I got a Mustang that needs saving, and I don't trust showrooms. Can you handle it?" Tyler didn't hesitate. "Yes, sir." Brooks Auto, 2 days later. The engine wasn't just purring, it was growling like it had a score to settle. The 1969 Shelby GT 500 Mustang sat inside Tyler's garage like a lion in a cage. Midnight blue paint, white racing stripes, original chrome trim, every inch a legacy. Judge Harrison stood nearby, watching. "She's been in storage since '92, he said. "Ran fine then. Now, chokes on idle, smells like death." Tyler popped the hood and stared into the past. "Carb shot, fuel lines too. You've got a $500,000 classic bleeding to death." The judge smirked. Can you resurrect her? Tyler looked up, eyes steady. If I can find the parts, I can bring her back. A quiet bond. Over the next several days, the garage echoed with the rhythm of wrenches, grit, and slow conversation. Judge Harrison wasn't just a client, he lingered, observed. He brought lunch, sometimes coffee, and stories. You ever serve, Brooks? Tyler shook his head. Just high school football, right tackle, state champs '05. So why this? The judge asked one afternoon, gesturing around. Tyler paused, then shrugged. Had to do something when the world decided it was done with me. The judge didn't pry, just nodded, like he understood. Whispers in the wind. But not everyone was quiet. Over at Langston Realty, Chase was boiling. You mean to tell me that convict grease monkey is fixing the judge's car? He shouted. His father, the mayor, sighed behind his desk. Let it go, son. No, he's getting attention, respect. If he pulls this off, people might forget who he really is. The mayor leaned back. Or maybe they'll start remembering who you really are. Chase froze. What's that supposed to mean? You think the judge doesn't check court records? If Brooks starts talking about what happened that night, he won't, Chase cut in. But doubt crept in anyway. Pieces and ghosts. Back in the garage, Tyler installed the new fuel line with surgical care. He wiped sweat from his brow when the judge returned with an envelope. I found this in the old glove box, he said. Tyler opened it slowly. Inside, a police report, his own, yellowed with time, unredacted. Saturday afternoon, Beechwood Estate Garage. The Mustang now slept peacefully in Judge Harrison's private garage, a velvet tarp draped over it, like a crown jewel. Tyler stood beside the judge, both sipping sweet tea. You sure you don't want it tuned for performance? Tyler asked. No need, the judge replied. She already proved her worth, just like her mechanic. He set the glass down and turned to Tyler. How would you like to take this full time? Fixing cars? Not just any cars. My cars, and others like them. Quiet clients, rare pieces, discreet work. I'd bankroll a proper garage for you. Clean start. New name. Tyler blinked. That's generous. No, the judge said, that's justice. Late, but real. Copper Hill Town Hall, Monday evening. Every seat was filled. Some people leaned against the walls. Others stood outside, faces pressed to the windows. Rumors had spread like wildfire. The judge's mechanic's gonna speak. Something about the old assault case. Langston's behind it all. Tyler Brooks sat quietly in the second row, hands folded, a single sheet of paper in his coat pocket. Beside him, Judge Harrison's gaze never wavered. Up front, the mayor cleared his throat. Next on the agenda, public commentary regarding business licensing and allegations of misconduct. Chase Langston smirked from his chair. The trap was set, or so he thought. Truth on record. Judge Harrison stood first. I request to address the council, not as a resident, but as a former federal judge with 36 years on the bench. The room hushed. I submitted a sealed document to this council 2 days ago. It contains the original case file of Tyler Brooks and new evidence proving, beyond question, that the charges in 2010 were falsified, tampered with, and politically motivated. Gasps echoed. Councilwoman Drake's voice trembled. Judge, are you saying the conviction was orchestrated? Harrison interrupted, by this town's leadership to protect the reputation of the mayor's nephew. Chase shot up. That's a damn lie! Sit down, someone muttered from the back. Tyler's voice. For the first time in years, Tyler stood to speak, not from under a car, but from behind a microphone. 14 years ago, I got into a fight at a party I wasn't even supposed to be at. I got jumped. I swung back. Only difference was my skin color. He paused. The room didn't breathe. I lost my scholarship, my job, my reputation, all for protecting myself. He pulled the folded paper from his pocket, a signed affidavit from the officer who investigated the case but was never called to testify. You silenced the truth, but you didn't erase it. Breaking point. Chase was already halfway to the exit when his name was called again. Mr. Langston, Councilman Reed said sternly, please return to your seat. The council is issuing an inquiry into your father's office and your involvement in suppressing court records. The mayor sat stone-faced. The town was no longer his. A new beginning. By week's end, headlines read, Conviction overturned. Copper Hill's shame exposed. Brooks Auto receives $250,000 grant to expand. Judge Harrison endorses Tyler Brooks for local chamber chair. Tyler didn't want power. He just wanted truth and peace. But now the whole town knew. He was no criminal. He was the man they had wronged, and the man they now looked to. 1 week later, Copper Hill City Council. Councilman Reed slammed the final report on the oak table. The leather-bound binder thudded like a gavel. After a full audit, he announced, the Langston family has been found complicit in manipulating zoning laws, withholding court documents, and misusing public funds. The room stayed quiet. Mayor Langston sat stiff, staring straight ahead. Chase sat beside him, pale as chalk, his mouth a grim line. Councilwoman Drake added, effective immediately, Chase Langston is disbarred from practicing law in this county, and his real estate license is revoked. Tyler stood at the back, arms crossed, watching justice land with precision. Dirty money, dirty hands. Documents exposed everything. Chase had forged reports to block Tyler's property permits. The mayor had rerouted municipal funds to buy votes and suppress complaints against his son. And years earlier, in Tyler's case, they had leaned on a rookie prosecutor to rush a plea deal with no investigation. He took away my future, Tyler said to Judge Harrison after the meeting. Then build a better one, the judge replied. A seat at the table. 2 days later, Councilman Reed made a surprise visit to Brooks Auto. Mr. Brooks, I'd like to formally offer you a position on Copper Hill's Economic Redevelopment Board. Tyler blinked. Me? You've lived the struggle. You understand the cost of a broken system. We need your voice. Tyler looked around his garage, the tools, the smells, the sweat of 1,000 late nights. He didn't wear a tie, didn't own a suit, but maybe, just maybe, this town needed less polish and more truth. All right, he nodded. Lads do it. Chase's last stand. Chase didn't leave quietly. He tried to rally allies, blamed politics, even accused Judge Harrison of bribery, but nobody listened anymore. He was seen now not as a prince, but a spoiled boy who'd finally run out of cover. On his last day in Copper Hill, he drove past Brooks Auto one final time. The Mustang gleamed in the sunlight. Tyler didn't wave, didn't nod, didn't even look up, and that hurt Chase more than any courtroom ever could. Legacy reclaimed. Weeks later, Tyler stood on the steps of Town Hall, holding a wrench in one hand and a framed certificate in the other. Tyler Brooks, honorary citizen and economic board member, for services to truth and restoration. The crowd cheered, not out of pity, not out of guilt, but out of respect. And Tyler smiled, not for the cameras, but for the boy he once was, the one they tried to erase. He hadn't just survived, he'd rebuilt. 1 year later, Brooks' Legacy Garage. The garage was bigger now, no longer a creaky shed by the railroad, but a clean, custom-built space near the heart of Copper Hill, complete with a showroom, training bay, and community mural out front. On the wall, spray-painted in bold letters, "We don't fix just cars, we rebuild people." Inside, teenagers wore overalls. Ex-convicts sanded fenders, veterans taught brake systems to high school dropouts. And at the center of it all stood Tyler Brooks, not in a suit, not in a robe, but in his oil-stained work shirt, laughing. A visit from the judge. The familiar Mustang rolled in, engine still purring like a song. Judge Harrison stepped out, a little slower now, but just as sharp. Tyler met him at the hood. "She still drives like she owns the road," Harrison smiled. "You raced her right," Tyler chuckled. They walked the garage side by side. "You've done more in a year than most men do in a lifetime," the judge said quietly. "I just gave 'em what I never had, a chance." "No," the judge corrected. "You gave them a choice to believe in themselves again." A letter framed in the office. In Tyler's tiny office, one thing stood out. A framed letter. From the state governor, it read, "Your efforts in Copper Hill have been recognized statewide. We thank you for showing that redemption is not just possible, it's powerful." Underneath, a plaque. "To Tyler Brooks for turning justice into action." Tyler sometimes stared at that plaque in silence. But never too long. He had wrenches to tighten, engines to hear, lives to rebuild. Forgiveness, not forgetting. At the back of the garage, a small garden grew beside the employee picnic table. On the bench, carved in wood, in memory of Miss Carla, who never stopped believing. Tyler's late mother had passed 2 years before all this, but her spirit lived here in every second chance offered. Full circle. Later that afternoon, a young woman walked in nervously, holding the hand of her teenage brother. "He's 17, messed up, vandalism, curfew, all that. I don't know where else to take him." Tyler looked at the kid. Dirty sneakers, hard eyes, angry silence. He remembered that look. "Name?" he asked. "Malik." Tyler handed him a wrench. "Start with cleaning tools. If you're serious, we'll go from there." Malik hesitated, then nodded. Another engine, another story, another life saved by the shop that used to be forgotten. Final scene. Sunset on Justice. As the sun dipped low over Copper Hill, the garage lights flickered on. Engines clicked softly as they cooled. The town's old wounds, once open and bleeding, were now scars with stories. Tyler stepped outside, hands on his hips, breathing in the scent of oil, rubber, and redemption. Judge Harrison joined him for a moment of quiet. "So, Mr. Brooks, what's next?" Tyler smiled. "Keep building, keep fixing. Maybe justice ain't a courtroom thing at all." and together they watched the light settle on a town finally made whole.